Everyone, a very good evening, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna get into design thinking, which is a methodology about designing exactly the product that your end market would want. And it is a very iterative and a very collaborative process. So you actually connect with your end customer or your market through various market research methodologies such as interviews, surveys, and focus groups, which is a core part of design thinking. And then it combines other designing methodologies like prototyping and validating, testing those prototypes to make sure that you are, designing the right product that your market will actually love. And this methodology blends really well with the agile project management methodology. So this is like a framework, and the agile project management is how you actually structure a project, which includes this, framework. If you want to do a design thinking project, how would you structure it? And the agile project management would be the best fit to conduct a design thinking activity, or a design thinking workshop, or a design thinking project. And you can find the agile project management methodology on my channel as well. I'm just gonna link that video at the end of this video as well, and you can just search my channel for agile project management, and you can implement the design thinking methodology through that project framework as well. So let's just jump right into it, and then let's get started with the design thinking mindset. So, if you want to design a solution, want to design a product, so what would you want to have, like, from a mindset perspective? You really need to be enthusiastic about designing, about finding solution to that problem. You need to really want to, solve that problem for that customer. If it is yourself, you'd solve it for yourself. Hence, if you look at Steve Jobs' core philosophy, that is, do what you really love, and pursue objectives that you really passionately want to pursue, and not just for the sake of doing it, not just for the sake of money, because then you won't have that internal drive which really drives your cognition and your other senses to really find a solution. So if you really want to find a solution, you want to have that mindset of empathy, that is being able to understand the other person's situation, the other person's circumstances. You want to be moved by the other person's problem, and you want to have like a collaborative mindset. You want to be iterative, so you want to create an MVP, for example, the least viable solution, the minimum viable solution, and build upon that through collaboration. Now, how you structure this is the core of agile project management, the video that you can find on my channel, and how do you structure that project. So this is more about the tools and the frameworks for designing a product or a solution. So it you want to be iterative, you want to be collaborative, you want to have like an experimentative nature. You want to be optimistic that you would find a solution. Like, if you look at psychology and the theory of self-efficacy, if you really believe that you can do something, the chances of you actually doing it, increase manyfold. And if you just internally think that you won't be able to do it, then there is a big chance that you might not be able to make it, just because you don't really believe that you can do it, and you won't be driven, you won't be that resilient in the face of challenges. So you want to be optimistic. When it comes to this bias for action, I don't really kind of support any kind of bias, and personally, like, what I found is that any kind of bias would lead to biased results as well. So being action oriented would be the right term, I think. So this is the design thinking mindset. These are some of the qualities you want to have from a psychology perspective to be a design thinker and have design effective solutions. And then, when we talk about design thinking, we typically use the design thinking framework for wicked problems. There's a so-called term which is given to problems which are more complex and do not have a very obvious solution, right? So they are called the wicked problems, and tame problems are like some problems that you would have very obvious solutions for, or a problem for which a solution already exists and which is not complicated. For example, if you're feeling hot, you can turn on the air conditioning. So that is a tamed problem, a problem which has already been tamed. But a wicked problem is something which is complex and which does not have a clear definition, no stopping rules, and solutions are not black and white. So it's basically complex and does not have a clear solution, and that is where the design thinking framework comes in. So now, like, design thinking has various stages. It has these these stages called empathize, ideate, prototype, test. So these are the core phases of design thinking, and if you just like, even if you just Google or if you look it up on any other AI search tool, you can like, so we come up with, this is the most commonly used framework for design thinking. So you start with empathizing, you start with understanding the people you are designing the solution for and the problem that they are facing. You get in depth into that through market research tools like interviews, focus groups, which involves persona development, market segment research, surveys, and then you have other tools such as empathy maps, mind maps, and which we are going to be discussing in detail as well. And then, like, this is the first stage: you understand the person and the problem, and then you define the problem, like you figure out the details of the problems that they're facing, of why they're facing it, through the various tools which you use in empathize. And then you come to the ideate phase. This is one of, so empathize is a very collaborative phase where you interact with your customers or your client or the people you're solving for. And then define is, you use some tools and which are very fun as well, which are a lot of fun, and then you kind of get into the details of the problem. And then ideate, this is a very collaborative, fun way of figuring out, uh, generating ideas, for various solutions. And there are different practices, a lot of fun practices that you can perform to do the ideate stage. So there are practices, some of them would be like brainstorming, uh, which would be typically very neutral and encouraging instead of debating and over the right solution, right? This is a phase where you are just coming up with various solutions, right? So you just want to have as many solutions as possible for the ideation phase. And then there are a lot of fun tools like Crazy 8, where you sketch 8 ideas in 8 minutes for rapid visualization. And there are some other fun tools for the ideate stage, which we want to discuss, which we're going to get into the details as well. And then you prototype. And then, so the prototyping phase, it's like mostly, you come up with the low fidelity prototype, which could be anything from like a random sketch to a random explanation, like a story. And medium fidelity would be kind of halfway to 70% through the actual prototype. So if you look at the low fidelity, like a sketch could be an example of a low fidelity. A medium fidelity would be like screens where like you create these screens and you define what those are going to be for and how they're going to work, but you don't really create the actual screens. And then a high fidelity would be like an actual sketch of an actual design of the screens through Figma, or even like vibe coding or no code platforms like Bubble and things like that, or vibe coding platforms like Lovable. So that would be like high fidelity. So this is not really just so this methodology, design thinking, is not just for apps or websites or anything like that, or digital products. It could be hardware, it could be physical products, it could be systemic solutions, it could be like operation workflows, or it could be system designs. So it could be anything, and that is the prototyping phase. And then you get into the testing phase. So you actually develop a prototype, and then you test. You actually test it in the actual with the actual customers, just like you did in the empathize phase. You collaborated with them and you understood their problems. And in this phase, in the test stage, what you're going to do, you want to get the prototype. You're going to get the prototype that you've created to your client or the customer or the person you're designing the solution for. It could be yourself as well. And then you're going to test how the solution works, if the solution actually works for the end client and the customer, via recordings, via analytics, which are embedded, if it is a digital product, on the digital screen. Or it could be other tools like the think aloud testing method, where you ask the end client or the customer to think aloud while they are using the solution or the prototype, so that you can actually record what roadblocks or what friction they're having in using your prototype. And then you gather the feedback and the data, and then you you test, and then you go back to the empathize phase. The test and the empathize phase is very closely related, and you get the data of the problems they're facing, and then you again go back to the define phase, and via various tools like mind mapping, empathy mapping, and other tools that we're going to discuss in detail. And then you again go back to the ideate and improve on your prototype, right? And you get a better prototype and you test it again, and you go back to your customer and till the point that you're actually confident that you have met your prototype acceptance criteria, right? And the prototype acceptance criteria is based on various factors, such as like the viability, the feasibility, if it would be feasible to design, if create that solution which the prototype has been built for within the time frame and the budget that is available with the team. And that will be the feasibility test. There's going to be the functionality test. Can the solution solve the core problems and do the core tasks? And if it is intuitive, and if it is actually gonna solve the pain points that the end customers and the clients are actually facing. So that's going to be the functionality test. And then again, the technical and the business viability, the UI UX, how easy it is to learn, what is the learning curve, and then you kind of check with your end customers and your client, if what are they already paying for, how much are they already paying for the solutions they're using, and if they would, how much would they be willing to pay for your solution. And so that comes under the entire marketing strategy. How do you plan your marketing mix, the pricing, the promotions. So we're going to be discussing all of these concepts in details, the various tools like customer journey mapping, mind mapping, etc. And there's going to be a series of videos on YouTube. You can actually do the actual certification, which will be having simulations where you can actually practice all of these techniques, which we are going to be discussing in detail. And you can there's going to be a cool capstone project, and it'll get you certified, which you can and you can join the community on the website islam.org. I'm going to paste the actual link to the course in the description as well. And so this is a core aspect of product management, and you can find the entire series of product management on the channel as well, and the certification on Aslana.org as well. So this channel is about like for entrepreneurs, for management professionals, CEOs who want to have the entire toolkit of kind of running an organization, like bringing about change. And if you kind of like the stuff, you can like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the upcoming videos on design thinking and on other stuff related to social innovation and business development as well. So have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.